This pattern is called the Brooks Gordon, and it was invented by my friend Dave Brandt. To dress this fly, I'm using a Mustad 94842 dry fly hook in a size 12. For the thread, Dave used to use a tan uni, but I'm instead using a camel uni 80. For the body, it's stripped Dunhackle stem, which gives you a light to a medium shading. For the wing, wood duck. For the tail, light dun hackle barbs. And it features two hackles. The first hackle is a light dun, and the second hackle is a grizzly. Now, to dress this fly, I simply come in with my tying silk and I catch it in just a little bit back from the eye of the hook. I'm not one of these that leaves a bare shank of hook. And I trap it down with 10 to 12 nice tight turns. Cut off the edge. And now it's time to prepare the wood duck hackle. Now the key to tying any of the Catskill style flies is to get a nice wood duck feather that is straight in the barb. Here you can see we've got a kind of half moon shaped to it. So when we process the hackle to tie in, you're not going to get the same effect. Some people, of course, like to take out the center stem of the hackle, but because we're tying on a size 12, that really doesn't come into the equation. Now you can see here, when I start to straighten this hackle and bunch it up, and you can be quite firm when you're doing this, is you'll see that the fibers aren't quite straight and aren't quite aligned. There's one or two there on the edges, and there's a few there in front that I can see that are too short. So we can pull them out if you want, but then of course you're whittling away at the finished wings. And as I say, there's one or two fibers that are a little bit short. So I'll just try and brush a few out. Still one or two there. I'll take that one out. And that's probably the best my aging eyesight can come up with. There we go. So now the Catskill dry flies, the wings are quite pronounced, they're quite long, so you got to judge how long you want your wing. I'm not entirely prescribed to the Catskill style. I'd say that is roughly about right for my liking. Now some people will cut the excess wings off at an angle, but I'm in the same school as Dave. I like to cut them off in a sharp cut like that. And the reason for this is when I'm going to start mounting my tail fibers, and when I start to mount the for the body, I'm going to butt that up against these wing butts here, and we'll get a nice even body to the fly. Now trap it down with another couple of turns, and now take 4 or 5 nice tight turns right in front of that wing. So it should just pop up like so. There's one or two stray fibres there that I might just cut off. Come on, there you go. And now I start to divide the wing, so I've got equal segments either side. And this is really the fiddly bit. So I'm quite happy with that. So now I'll come in with a figure of 8 and I go straight through around the hook shank and then back through again. Come on. That's better. There we go. And there's my first figure of 8. Now I'll come back in with one more. There. And now what I like to do is I like to go around those wing barbs. So now I'll bring it round and I'll go around that barb, back round, and there we are. We've got a nice separated pair of wings. I'll bring my tying thread just a little bit further back and I'll strengthen those wings up a little bit. And now I'm ready to come in with my tail fibres. So here I'm using light done hackle barbs, and it's important to get them so they're quite stiff and quite long. And you see here, these aren't too bad. It's hard to get good tailing hackle. So now just pull off a bunch and start to even them up. And now I'm going to trap them in just where that bump is. So I'm quite happy with that length. Someone in traditional catskill flies, the tail would be a bit longer, so I'll just pull that a bit further forward and now start to trap them in. That's a bit better. Now bring my tying thread to where the body will end. And I'm quite happy with the length of the tail in relation to the length of the body. So now I'm going to come in with my stripped light done hackle. I'm going to trap that hackle stem in. And now I'm going to bring my silk back up the body of the fly. And you can see now that the fly body is starting to, even itself out. There isn't really a pronounced bump. Now I'll take a little bit of varnish and I'll just give it a light coating. This will make the fly body a bit more resilient. And now my hackle stalk, I'll come this way and I'll start to wind that stripped stalk to form a nice segmented body. And there you can see how the hackle stalk gives that impression of segmentation. I could probably do with them being a bit tighter, but I think they'll be okay. Now come there to where the bump was. I'm going to trap down that hackle stalk with some nice tight turns, and I'm going to bring that stalk right in front of those wings, so I'm really binding it down. Now come in with my scissors and I'll just cut off the excess of stalk, and now I'm ready to tie in my two hackles. So here I've got to be careful because I want the grizzly hackle to be wrapped last. So I've got to stack them in a way that they're nice flat on top of each other. And I'll just pull out a couple of fibres from each one, so I've got a nice leading edge to the hackles. I'll bring my tying silk back down to where the stalk was, and now I'll catch in those two hackles, and I'll bring my tying thread back in front of the wing, and again really securely binding down those hackles. There you go, they ain't gonna move. Come in with my scissors and just trim off those waist ends. It's a bit fiddly, that one. Come on. Nope, missed you. There we go. And now I get my hackle pliers and I take that done hackle, and this is the one that I'm going to wrap first. So I like it to be reasonably sparse, so I'm only going to take a couple of turns behind the wing. And then I'm going to bring the wings forward and jam that hackle again 2 turns in front. There we go. It doesn't matter if you've got a gap between the wraps of hackle, because we're going to come with a second hackle and fill them in. So now just catch that down with a couple of tight turns of thread. I'm going to put another one in. Trim off the waist end. And now I'm ready to wrap the grizzly hackle. Again, coming with my hackle pliers. And I'll take 2 turns behind the wing, just filling in those gaps between the hackle turns. I'll probably take one more, I think. And then 2 turns in front of the wing. There we go. And now I'll bind that down with my tying thread. I'll give it one tight one now. There you go. Come in with my scissors And I'll trim off that waste end of hackle. Give it a little pull just to tighten it up. And now with my whip finish tool, I'll give the fly a nice, neat, small whip finish. There we go. And I'll trim off the end. And now I'm ready to just cut out any of those stray fibres and just give the fly a general tidy up. There's one or two there that I'm not happy with. I'll take that. I'll cut him off. One there. Just pull out those loose fibres, and that's okay. I'm generally happy with that. Could be a bit neater. And now to finish the body off, I'm going to come back up with my fly tying cement, and I'm just giving it a nice little varnish there. And just give it a little bit more. There we have Dave Brandt's Brooks Gordon.